Hello everyone, welcome to the micro lecture on finding and evaluating sources. When you are assigned a research project or a research paper, you might be left with wondering where to go for information. With the internet being so accessible, it might be tempting to type words into Google and use whatever comes up first. You may feel lucky when getting a great number of sources within a few seconds, but soon get stuck with so many websites and sources and fail to evaluate the information available. Besides, you may wonder which sites and sources are more credible than others. Learning how to find and evaluate sources for research is an important stage in the process of research paper writing. In this session, we are going to introduce different types of sources for writing research papers, access to find sources, and ways to evaluate the credibility of sources you've obtained. Let's firstly learn different types of sources: reference sources, books, popular articles, scholarly articles, and websites. 1. Reference sources include encyclopedias, dictionaries, handbooks, and guides. They usually provide general background information. 2. Books are excellent sources for in-depth information, including historical information and summaries of research to support an argument, but usually do not provide most up-to-date information. 3. Popular articles in magazines provide current events, news, trends, and hot topics, but they aim at general topics and are not scholarly. Besides, they rarely give full citations for sources. 4. Scholarly articles are primary sources for academic research and often provide very specific information on the topic. They include full citations for sources. 5. Websites allow you the access to various types of information, current or dated. They are easily accessed through the internet, but everyone can publish to the web. In the next part, let's see the access to sources for your research papers. Suppose you are assigned a research topic which is not familiar to you. You may, step 1, start from a search engine. Search engines such as Baidu, Bing, or Google are places to start when you are first reading up on the assigned research topic. A great way to access academic papers is Google Scholar. It is a search engine that finds scholarly articles, academic journals, patents, theses, court proceedings, and more. Google Scholar displays how many times an academic piece of literature was cited, which is a rough numerical indicator of how influential the research was. Google Scholar also has links under each posting to help you find the sources of the research papers and their related articles. Do you know that Microsoft has a competitor to Google Scholar? It is Microsoft Academic Search. Microsoft's tool works particularly well for technical papers in fields such as physics, mathematics, biology, and engineering. Step 2. You may consult librarians, digital media specialists, or your professors. Tell one of these people your research topic and ask them to point you towards useful sources. Chances are that they know more about what's available about your particular topic than you do. Some universities, for instance, have specialist librarians for topics like music, art, and humanities. When asking your librarians or professors, just be sure to be tactful. Librarians and professors are there to help, but they won't do all your research for you. Step 3. Use academic journals or scholarly articles. These journals are a great way to find cutting-edge research on your topic. Academic journals add credibility and professionalism to a paper. They work well for both humanities and scientific papers. Most universities have a subscription to a large database of academic journals. Step 4. Books are still one of the best ways to find credible information about a source. Some fields, such as the humanities, prefer their students use books for sources rather than websites, since books typically contain more detailed information and perhaps more in-depth thinking than websites do. Google has another service, Google Books, that will help you find books related to your topic. Just type your research topic into the field and Google Books will provide you with a list of relevant books. Once you click on the book you like, Google Books will give you a preview of the book and information related to buying the book or finding it in your library. Step 5. Use online scholarly databases such as JSTOR, LexisNexis, and EBSCOhost, which provide access to research in hundreds of areas. Step 6. Last but not least, don't forget the library. Often, this rich source of information is overlooked because students think it's more convenient to look for sources online. However, most libraries, especially the libraries of universities, have the digital version. You can find sources of journal articles, books, etc. Take the library of Nanking University for example. You can find over 100 databases in the online library, including EBSCOhost, Elsevier, JSTOR, American Periodicals, Encyclopedia Britannica Academics, etc. You can find sources covering about 24 areas, from humanity to social science, from physics to chemistry, from education to arts, from engineering to information technology. As a matter of fact, you can find most of the sources for your research papers if you can use the university libraries effectively. After you have found sources for the research paper, it is important to evaluate sources for credibility. You cannot always believe everything you've got from internet. How can you make sure that your sources are valid and credible? First, authority. Ask yourself a couple of questions. Are they from peer-reviewed flagship journals or local, regional, university-specific journals? Are they from scholarly books or graduate student theses? Are they from government reports or newspapers? Why are peer-reviewed journal articles more authoritative than others? It is related to peer review process. When a research paper is submitted, editors would send it to 2 or 3 researchers in the same field for review. If the paper is accepted, editors and authors would work together to revise it before the paper is published. In this process, incorrect information doesn't have much chance to leak in. Encyclopedias, such as Encyclopedia Britannica and InfoPlace, are excellent sources to get materials for research papers, but you need to avoid those with low credibility. For example, Wikipedia allows multiple users to edit. Therefore, it might not be a reliable source. Newspapers and magazines are also rich sources of information about what is happening now. Although they may cover some serious materials, they do not contain scholarly information and give full citations. It might be difficult to find out where the author found the information. Besides, articles written in newspapers and magazines are written for a general audience and may contain bias. Second, applicability. You have to make it clear whether the sources you have got are applicable to your research topic. Always keep the topic in mind when you conduct research. Otherwise, it's easy to get away from the topic. Finally, timeliness. The last criterion you have to keep in mind is that you make sure whether the sources are recent. It is necessary to work with the latest texts. The papers of 1950s may provide you with thesis statements, but they might not be valid anymore in research methodology and even theoretical background. To sum up, in this session, we have learned about different types of sources for writing research papers, including reference sources, books, popular articles, scholarly articles, and websites. Accesses to find sources include search engines, librarians, digital media specialists and professors, academic journals, online scholarly database, and library, real or virtual. To evaluate the credibility of sources, you have considered authority, applicability, and timeliness. Questionable sources should always be avoided in your research papers. That's all for this lecture. Thank you for your attention.